All right, I'm talking today to Dave Ryan. I think the last time we actually talked in person was at the Electric City Comic Con last year, which unfortunately wasn't even, going to happen before the whole pandemic thing happened, which is, kind of canceling Comic Cons anyway.
Yeah,
So
they were ahead of its time.
yeah, yeah. So how are things going with you?
Good, man. Good. Nothing. Life is pretty much the same. Uh, only the guilt of missing the gym is gone. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I feel you there. I've put on the core in 20.
No, yeah, absolutely. And my wife has become you met my wife at the show. She started. She's like it Bloom Baker. She's been cooking like it's baking like crazy, delicious stuff. It's been insane, which is leading to my elastic waistband.
Oh yeah, when the first couple months of everything, my I was doing my working. I've been working from home. My wife and 3.5-year-old have been baking pretzels, cookies.
Yeah.
you know,
It's nuts.
but now it's kind of taken another turn as my wife has gone back to work part time, and so Tuesdays and Wednesdays it's daddy daycare / I'm trying to work.
Nice. It's good times.
Thankfully, there's the iPad,
Yeah,
and
distraction.
he can use it. So anyway,
Disney Channel.
yeah. Oh, don't get me started. Although he was on a Muppet kick there for a long time. He would want to watch the pirate movie, the Muppets Treasure Island.
All right.
He loves watching Muppets Christmas Carol around Christmas time. I think we even watched it for a week here, back in April or something.
It's got to be a little concerned if he comes in the room and says, "This is the way."
Yeah. So and then we kind of got into he got into the new Muppet Babies, which it's okay. It's not the old Muppet Babies, but
I've never watched any of the Muppets Babies. I'm sorry to say, because I have no babies.
So kind of getting this back on track. I think we've probably discussed it before, but how did you get into comics? Do you remember the first comic that you read, or the one that got you hooked?
Wow. I had asked my mother this because I didn't recall when I got my first comic. And she said when I was a little kid, she would buy me comics, and matchboxes. At an early, I can't remember why. But I was little. I was born in '65, and I had books back to '67 or so. So good times. And then she would buy me also the Outer Spacemen. Remember those? The Bendies?
No, I think so.
Yeah, I have one left over there, which happens to be the rarest one. He's the octopus head. The octopus head guy, his head comes off. He's from Neptune, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. But I do remember like the early Buscema books, like the appearance of the Lethal Legion and the Sinister. Squadron Sinister. Those guys around that era. The comics the artwork was amazing back then, and so I've always been hooked to comics. So
yeah. So when did you start? When did you get the bug to start drawing?
This I do remember. Different stories. My mother she thought I was always tracing, and then she saw me at a table drawing without tracing anything. I didn't even know what the hell tracing was at the time. And then she signed me up for art school when I was in kindergarten. And I remember I'd go from 4th Street. We lived on 1st Street. I would go from 4th Street up to 7th Street by myself after kindergarten and go to the art school. And my dad would pick me up like 6:30. And that lasted all of, I think, a week or two. I was too starving by the end of the time. But, speaking of like different times, I was 5, walking the 4 blocks. No one picked me up. No one walked me to art school. I just went by myself. It was like, different times, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
A tad.
so now you're also the publisher of Red Anvil Comics, which you guys did the War of the Independents. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm actually working on. I just finished page 10 of issue 5 last night.
And I know we talked about this before. Can you just give a little recap about what the War of the Independents is about?
Sure. Years ago, maybe like 2006 or 7, we used to have like annuals and specials that came out in comics, and everybody waited for those. So those are going to be the big get-togethers in comics, in Marvel or DC. And then it just kept coming and coming. They just kept piling up and never ending. It's like so. And what they were doing is just taking the market away from all independents and everyone else. They would just, what Marvel always does is smother the room. If something's popular, they come out with it and they flood the market with it. That's what they did when we came out with Owl Girls. And then it was, what were those? The Rat Queens and Lumberjanes. They all came out the same month. And the female books started coming out that month. And what did Marvel do? They just flooded the market with a bunch of female books to drown it out. But, so I said, hey, let me try to get a bunch of independent guys together to do a big crossover, goofy thing, to try to counter it. And it'd be a good way for a lot of unknown indies to jump on board and let people see their book, because those days, and even worse now, you're never going to see their books. Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple of little shops will hold them, but not like the old days where you can pick up indies, like your stores would hold the indies. So that's what it's really about. It's we get together to make independent books a little more seen and relevant. Although I'm not sure if it's working or not. But
well, I think that's when I first became aware of you was, and we've talked about this before, was through the Comic Geek Speak podcast, and I think that's what they were kind of spotlighting your work with the War of the Independents, and that's how I became aware of you.
Yeah, I think we met down in what was it, the second show they had?
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the second. I didn't go to the first one. It was definitely the second one. It was at the bar, and then.
Well, that could have been any of them.
That's true. And then we had what do we have?
Well, they had 200. Yeah, 200, 300, and then the super shows.
2 or 3, I can't remember what it was, but
yeah.
And it was like 5 of us in a room. Me, Spano, all in one room. I put an air mattress. It was insane.
Well, I think for 200, I had just moved up here to Albany, and I was like, and I guess I found the podcast. Was like, and I was living by myself. It's like, you know what? I don't have anything to do. So I drove down there, and I drove back the same night, and probably, I got back to Albany about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I knew I was falling asleep driving. So, I was lucky to make it to 300.
Wow, that was brutal.
And this was the time before I had a GPS too, so it was MapQuest in the dark.
Oh, nice.
And I think I got a little lost in probably New Jersey.
That was a tough. That was a difficult show to find. I remember us were all over the place, and I think Spano was driving too. It was just like it was insane. It was just insane. Oh God. Then we did Super Show. Did you go to Super Show, the first Super Show?
Oh, I was at everyone except for the first show.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. That's right. Super Show was in some building, and they just come out with those draw boxes for the comics. They had.
The convention center there.
Yeah, something like that. It was.
Yeah.
It's a vague memory.
Hazy.
Hazy at time.
There might have been alcohol involved.
Oh, we went to the arcade that night, I think. Something like it. We went to an arcade one night.
The Works. The water.
Yeah.
The Works.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And then
Me and Jamie D playing a bunch of Destroy All Monsters. Good old Jamie.
Oh yeah. And then it was just last year when I was on the committee for the Electric City Con and I saw your name. I was like, I know him.
That was a great show. I had such a blast, man.
Yeah.
And hotel had the best burger we've ever had. It was like an egg on top of the burger. It was phenomenal.
I was gonna say, yeah, I remember you posting about that, and as we mentioned, they weren't going to do the show this year because the lady who was in charge of it left the library, but kind of it's like, what am I going to do now? That's a great show. It's very family.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be sad if it didn't come back, but
I'm sure it will be back when other cons come back. Now I know you're involved with the East Coast Comic Con.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the plans for that?
Well,
because I know that when we met at New York Comic Con, you and your friend were going around trying to, get creators to come.
Yeah, that's Cliff Galbraith. Yeah, Cliff does. He's done in the '90s. He did Rat Bastard, the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So he started. He started as Asbury Park Comic Con, and that was fun. The first two were in a bowling alley. And there was like rock playing, and there was like people making food. And there was a bar with all cushion, all couches and stuff, and it was a blast. But that grew too fast, And then we moved up to the Meadowlands, Secaucus area for that. And this show was going to be phenomenal. It was going to be the biggest show so far, and of course. Guess what's not happening this year?
As I've always said, it what's happening now would give a new meaning to the con crud.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, I was supposed to go to Ace Comic Con in Boston, and they were still saying it's going to be on, and I had looked up, and the 2 weekends before the show there was a convention there, and 5 people got the virus in the convention center. So I was like, and they were people, they were workers who worked like the concession stands at every convention. Like, there's no way I'm not going to that convention. There's no way. But they had to keep it on until the city told them they had to shut it down.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen to New York Comic Con is, they're going to kind of, not that they haven't, given any indication of what they're going to do, but I believe Reed Pop just canceled a couple of their upcoming cons. So
yeah, I don't know. I was watching the news today, and they had Cuomo saying there's only 17 cases in New York, or 17 deaths in New York today, and I was like,
yeah,
okay.
Well, I mean, we're
17 family members. You'd think about it.
Well, then that's Cuomo. I mean, I'm not a big, not to get politics, but I'm not usually a big fan of his. But I mean, the way he's handled it compared to some of the other states, I mean,
doing a great job. And go away like a breeze. Good times.
Oh yeah. So, what have you been doing? It looks like I've been following. It looks like you've been doing a little bit of art during your time at home.
Yeah, I've been. I don't know if you remember Blue Water Comics.
Yep.
They were.
Yeah.
Darren Davis's show. He had The 10th Muse was his first book. And Darren, we've been chatting online, and then he's making a comeback. So I was talking to him, and I started doing some covers and stuff for him. And we did. They came back out with this new Stan Lee book, the bio, and I did 3 extra pages in that with a great writer, Mike Frizzell. And And I did the cover for that, and then I did the cover for the Jack Kirby book. Funny, that Jack Kirby cover art was the same art that's in the Jack Kirby hardcover book, which celebrates his 100th birthday. Just keep using it, baby. And I did a bunch of covers for them. I did Stormy Daniels cover. We did a book. We did a bunch of political ones. We did Kamala Harris. That's not out yet. AOC, Pete Buttigieg, which they're co-writing with him.
Yeah. Well, I know they've done, back in the, what was it? With the first time Obama ran, they did like a, they did the Obama book, they did a John McCain book, and then they did like, I believe it was called Fem Force.
Yeah, they did the female force books, which I'm doing one right now. I just he asked me to do another, not the interior, just the exterior.
Yeah.
Here is the, you can see who that is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the cover you were talking about today.
Yeah, a little Dolly Parton action.
Nice.
Make sure you got to get the chest in there. It's
yeah.
The Dolly Parton cover.
It takes up half the cover, right?
I cannot agree with that or disagree with that.
But you've also been doing a lot of sketch covers, which are pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of this was probably before the quarantine, but you were doing a lot of the Marvel movie ones.
Yeah, they were all for the Boston show.
Oh, okay.
They had the Boston show is run by Garrett and Stephen Shannis, a wizard, and and we go way back. So they had given me a table up there. So I looked at the guests who were going to be at the show, and I just did all sketch covers of all the guests who were going to be at the show, which I do here and there. I do usually, like if there's a show, I'll do one guest. Like last year at Terrificon, I did Billy D. Williams on a Lando cover. And when the show opened, we had a bunch of people run over as fast as possible. Like as soon as it opens, they run over and they want to buy it, which is cool and stuff. But I keep it I don't raise the price. I keep it all at flat price. I did it East Coast Comic Con last year. I did what's his name? Who's it? Oh God, I can't think of his name. He played the guy who played Doors. Jim Morrison.
Val Kilmer?
Val Kilmer, yes. Can't think of it. I did him last year, and that was the same thing. As soon as the early bird special opened up the front door, they run over. And whoever gets there first, buys it. And then they get it signed by him and, slabbed and whatever. But I had like 18 of them for this show. I was like, let me go over the top. I just went over the top. I was like, I'm going to pull a Steve Martin and have one show, goodbye, right?
Yeah.
And, then it closed, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to do these covers. So, I sold a few of them. I still have a few left. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then I just started doing more covers. And when the pandemic really kicked in, all the shows started getting canceled. The comic stores were closed. So people were just, jonesing, I guess, to get comic books. And I was selling more than I was before. People were just searching online to get books and stuff. But now it's slowed down a little bit. So I guess their wives caught up to them. Why is there money missing in the account? We need apples.
We won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
It's something we do not. Wait, the vent is open.
So one of the more recent sketch covers that you posted kind of when you first started was your why can't I think of it? The Dark Knight cover with Mr. Freeze. That's nice, right. Dude. Whatever his name is. And then I also thought it was pretty cool. Now every birthday you do a Star Wars portrait. Is that correct?
I do a Star Wars picture and I give that away. Yeah.
Cool. And this year was Mace Windu,
Yes.
not Snaggletooth.
No Snaggletooth. When I first did it, was God, who's the ice monster on Hoth?
The Wampa.
Wampa. Yes, I did the Wampa, and I posted, "Tell me your best Star Wars story, and I'll give it to you guys." And a bunch of people got mad at me. It's like, so I was trying to figure out a good way to do it this year. Oh, then I switched it to whoever came out to the bar with me, local bar with me. I gave it to somebody there. You can't win twice. So, but this year, we're trying to figure out a way to do it, and my wife just picked a number, and it was like between 1 and 20, whatever the whoever's comment was. So she, I don't know if you saw it. She came in and she was like, "What?" And I was, I don't remember in Wedding Crashers when Will Ferrell's at home with his mother, and he's yelling, "Mom, give me pancakes!" So I was yelling at her. She forgot totally. She came in and she goes, "Why are you yelling?" I was like, "Do you have the number?" And she went, "Oh no." She came back in. I picked 1 to 20, and I didn't realize at the time we had like 80 something comments. Right. So
That's when you download an app.
Yeah, some people were commenting over and over and over and over again, just so they can get repetitive. And my friend Adam Walenta, who used to do the Public Enemy. What's that?
He does Punk Taco.
Yeah, Punk Taco, but he used to do the Public Enemy comic. He won the second one. He won last year's because I didn't realize that. I just realized that day that I never gave away last year's, which was Bosk. I can't remember why. I can't remember why we didn't go out last year. Something happened last year. We didn't go out, and then I just forgot to give it away. So, but it was cool, We gave the woman who won Mace Windu. Her husband bought Lando Calrissian last year at the Terrificon. So it's a great family. So Jennifer and her husband. So she won, and then Adam won.
Oh, nice.
I like to do the creatures, but this year I went with Mace. And I asked, I put up, what do you think I should do this year? And it was all over the place. And
that's why I went for the most obscure character I could think of.
Yeah, people. I won't do Baby Yoda. It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
But he's so cute.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. It's not happening.
Now, a couple of your more recent ones, which I really enjoyed, were John Lewis that you did on the Black Panther cover, and I guess your tribute to Denny O'Neil on a Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, I did. Actually, I mailed that down to the congressman. I'm friend. His aide Andrew does the book march with him.
Yeah, I know the book march. Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew's a fantastic guy. We always have a blast. He always comes up to East Coast Comic Con and hang out. So I mailed that directly down to him. I haven't heard back from him, but it's a mess down there. So it said it was delivered like 3 days ago, but yeah. I'm sure the office and the zillion pieces of mail go through there.
So are you going to color? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm not going to color Denny. I'm just going to leave it as is. I ran into him. It was a little convention. Cliff Galbraith, who runs East Coast Comic Con, he had a friend who was running this small little con at a school cafeteria, and he asked, favors if we could show up. So, and a bunch of other guys too. So we showed up, and then Denny was just like walking around with his wife. So it's like he must have lived in that town. But he did a panel later too, which was really cool, with Jim Scalacrup and stuff. So I took a picture with him and his wife, and then I was looking for a sketch cover there. I had none with me. No Batmans, of course. But, so this guy only had like Green Lantern. That was it. I was like, I just grabbed it and I ran over to him. And I bought 2 of them. I gave one to Cliff too. And I kept mine, and I was like, I dislike when everybody does the tributes right after somebody dies kind of thing. But then again, you can't be too down on them. It's all like how you feel afterwards personally.
Right.
It's the people who are trying to make money off of it, which is a real Yeah, that's just douche. So
Yeah.
That's Jersey. I can say douche.
That's all right. Now I got to put the explicit lyric thing on. So what medium do you use when you are doing your work? Do you have a favorite one, or if you use multiple, or?
Yeah, I usually use a couple different things. It depends. Depends what the paper is too.
Mm-hmm.
The sketch covers are a little tough. I see people using acrylics. I can't imagine. Well, I only, I paint large canvases also, all different stuff, and portraits, and sometimes pop stuff. And I have big jars of acrylics. I don't have little acrylics, but I do see a lot of people paint acrylics. I guess the covers hold up to them, but I don't know. I usually use the markers and some color pencils on the covers like that. The Mace Windu, that was on a better Bristol paper, so I use watercolors on there. And some color pencils, I believe, at the end. Yeah.
And so how long does something like, a sketch cover take you, and how long did the Mace Windu portrait take you?
Mace, I drew at night the 2 days before, and then I did it the day before my birthday. I painted the whole thing the day before. It goes pretty fast. So.
Yeah.
But I like to have a day, especially if you're going to ink it. Which I did not ink that, but if you're going to ink something, you got to let it dry overnight. Or even if you use markers, it's going to pick up the marker. It's not fully dry, so it's going to smear it all over the place. So you definitely got to let that dry overnight if you're going to do the markers on the sketch cover. So
now, is there any character that you just enjoy drawing, or what character do you enjoy drawing, and what character other than Baby Yoda do you refuse to draw?
Oh God, what character do I like drawing? I don't know. I don't have a particular favorite. I get a kick out of drawing all different kinds of different characters. The Mr. Freeze was fun, but I don't like repeating myself too much. So, I had some other requests for Mr. Freeze, and I was like, I don't like Mr. Freeze. It was like, it's sort of like something that just hit me, and I don't know if you saw the process. I just colored the whole thing blue first.
That's why I said it was Zan.
Yeah.
You could have just stopped there.
It's done. I'm done. I just treated it sort of like a painting or an Elvis Velvet cover, like you paint in reverse sort of thing. And if someone says to an artist like, that only takes you 10 minutes to do, why don't you just do one for me? That's true, but I have 50 years of experience, which when I do something like the Mr. Freeze or whatever I'm working on, it feels to me like I'm just randomly dabbling my way through this piece of artwork and looking visually to see what looks good, and then trying a next step. And sometimes I experiment with different things, and I don't have any recipe, or maybe I'll follow some things, but art rules in my head and stuff. But all of that stuff is really just melded into me. So I'm confident that it'll look okay when I'm done. Mm-hmm. So I don't panic about it. I just go forward with it, and it'll come out like it comes out. So,
well, I think that one of the pieces that you were working on when we talked at the Electric City Comic Con was the Darth Vader / Ghost Rider. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sold like 14 microseconds. Here's another thing: like, you never know what's going to sell. Like, you think you sit down and you're like, okay, Star Wars will sell, or okay, this will definitely sell. And like I did, I don't know if you saw the Hawkman I did.
Oh, that was also cool.
Not sold. No one wants
what?
It's like, I don't understand that.
If Mr. I had money,
Mr. Freeze, took about within 5 to 10 minutes. It was sold. Hawkman, it's been like a month. No, and there's a Hawkman group. I put it in the Hawkman group. How could you not want? And I had guys.
It's his 80th anniversary.
I had guys messaging me saying, how much for the statue? 3 guys said that. How much for the statue? I was like, it's not a statue. He goes, it's not? I was like, no. Yeah, $1,000 statue. And I appreciate the compliment, but it's not a statue. Nobody wants it. I put it up on eBay now. I'm sick of reposting it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff on there now. I put the 3 Stan Lee pages that get up there too. So.
And I also saw that you like to do the movie ones like Blade Runner and.
Yeah, well, that will sell.
That will sell.
Yeah. I had a fun time. I took a lot longer on those pieces. Some of the pieces. I did one with Rutger Hauer and Priz in the background, and I did Harrison Ford in markers, and then I did them in color pencils, which like sort of monochromatically in color pencils, which dropped them in the back a little bit. It made to give a little depth to the picture. Now, that's a good example of I had no idea how that was going to turn out, but it's just press forward and whatever, right?
Yeah.
As long as you don't go too crazy on it. And then I did the Harrison Ford portrait, and then the other cover I had for, I did Daryl Hannah a while back as Priss on the cover.
Yeah. So have you been reading anything, during this time where you've been trapped at home?
Novel-wise? No.
Not comic-wise? Have you been revisiting anything?
Yes.
I've been staring at everything at the back on your shelf. Is that I see the Thantos glove and the head.
Yes. Let me take you over to the. Well, you know what? I need a new pair of glasses. These are really shitty for art. So reading books, forget it. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to flip the light around here. Let's see what we have here. We have the Thanos Bank.
Nice.
There's some pops. Usually this is my Jack Torrance pop.
Yeah.
Usually these are the ones I get during signings or something, and they have them for, you get them for a low price. There's my Roadhog. We have some absolutes over there.
Watchmen. What?
Yeah.
Is that something new?
Signed by John Higgins when he was here. Stayed at my house. Anyway, Ronin, Absolute Kingdom Come. Bunch of other groovy things. The Skull of My Enemies. Legion of Superheroes, Justice League, Mad Men.
I love the Too Much Coffee Man lunchbox.
Yeah, you need that. That's a Blockbuster video.
You might want to return that.
I probably have a fee. I get a bunch of signed books. These all over here. My Milk and Cheese, yeah. And we have our omnibuses over here. Oh, here's my Outer Space Man, Sam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Here we got the Spider-Man light switch when I was a kid.
Oh, very cool.
Spider-Man, X-Men Classics. I love this.
Yeah.
We have the Big Dead Man book. And Champions, Defenders, Avengers, Handbook, Kung Fu, Werewolf, and a bunch of other more things over there too, and over there also.
Oh. Well,
multitude of goodies.
So where can people go to find your stuff, your work?
On Instagram or Facebook, baby.
Okay. And the Instagram. Well, I'm gonna have to put the explicit on this now.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's a piece of art.
It's art. Okay. Nobody watches them anyway.
Yeah. It's just breastfeeding, for Christ's sake. My God, man.
But so
it's right next to my original Batman 1966 poster.
Oh, very nice.
Movie poster. That can be yours next birthday.
You mean I have to wait 350 some years?
Years in advance.
So definitely people should check your stuff out. Maybe if you want to send some, do you have like a link to the stuff you're selling on eBay?
Do I have a link to it? I possibly do. I will send it over to you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely put it in with the
Cool.
show notes so people can check out your stuff and, definitely, if I could afford it, I would have you do me a sketch cover.
Don't I owe you a sketch cover? What did I do for you, or you were supposed to do for you?
We were talking about a Simpsons DC matchup.
Yes. Hold on, I gotta write that down. Or just send that to me. Simpsons. What was it again? We needed to do a Simpsons
DC comic, your choice of a Simpsons character mashed up with a DC character.
Okay. Written down. Which I'm sure nothing at all gets lost around here.
No, it doesn't look like it.
I lost when I was trying to sign in earlier, and I had a notebook with all my passwords in it. It's been gone for like a year. I can't find it. We can't find it anywhere. It's like I don't know the passwords for anything. It's fantastic.
All right. Well, it was great catching up with you, and if you whenever you have something to promote, then you're more than welcome to come back, and we'll talk about that. And
yeah, we're coming out with our Worldwide Warriors still. We have
that's right. Didn't you do an Indiegogo for that?
We did, and I did not release the even the PDF for it yet because I wanted to get it to the stores, but now I'm going to release the PDF soon because Diamond was just like I don't think we're going to go through those guys anymore. They're just an absolute friggin' train wreck, man.
You and DC.
My first issue was supposed to come out in May. They refused to tell me what was going on with it. I was like, is it canceled? Is it not canceled? I had stores emailing me saying they're going to cancel the book because we're canceling all our orders because nothing's going to come out and stuff. I was like, okay, well, I'll let you know when I resolicited and stuff. And I was contacting my contact there at Diamond, and finally after they shut down and stuff, I was asking her to get the orders. I was like, look, I just want to know what the ballpark number was. I understand a lot of stores got canceled. Let's cancel the book. But, no. She didn't want to give me it. Refused to tell me what it was 3 times. I said, just give me my numbers. I don't understand why you're not giving me the numbers. So finally, my partner Joe called her boss, and then he came back to us with it was like $400 and something books, which, that's just ridiculous. All the stores canceled. So I was like, okay, fine. That's fine. Then, we'll have to resolicit it. And then last week I get a purchase order from this other guy saying, do you want to fill this purchase order? 400 and something books. I'm like, why would you not just resolicit the book? Why would I do 400 books?
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing ever. Everybody's book got canceled those weeks. Everyone's. Why would you not just resolicit the book? It's like stupid. This is my brother stupid here.
Well, when I talked to Adam, it was probably back in March or April. He was part of a panel I did about whether or not New York Comic Con was going to happen. He was talking about how he has I think the second volume of his Punk Taco was supposed to be distributed through Diamond. Now they were being shipped to his house.
Oh, that's fine. That should be fine. Yeah, that's good. That reminds me when I did War of the Independence, the Kickstarter, which was the second Kickstarter ever on comics. No one knew what the hell it was, right? So I had to chip in for the last 500 to make sure it got to the 5,000. The company who printed my book sent all the books to our apartment, and we lived in Weehawken on the pier. So the truck wasn't allowed to come into the docking area. They left it on the sidewalk, and they printed up 7,500 copies instead of 5,000, which was fine. I got 2,500 extra free books, but they're all outside, and it was like a football field away and 2 floors down.
Oh.
So luckily I knew the guy who's working on the outside by the front desk, and he's like, "There's a giant 2 giant pallets full of comic books out here, like you can't leave them out here. You know, it was a nicer area down there, down by the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would they just leave him here? Just take off. Like, and then they told the guy at the front desk, and he called me. Like, they didn't call me. And oh, by the way, printed up 2,500. It's the wife calling you in.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, I'll let you go, and it was great talking to you.
You too, brother.
All right. Well, and stay in touch.
All right, man. Talk
All right.
to you soon.
Yeah. Later.
Later.